Welcome to ISIDM001. This is an identity management training, and in this demonstration video, we would like to give you an IDM overview. Let us begin. My name is Ed, and I'm going to be your trainer for the next few weeks. To give you a quick overview of my experience, I have been working in the domain of identity management since the last decade and a few more years too. My expertise has always been lying in to the primary domains of identity as well as access management. I have led multiple roles where I have been working on multiple products as well as multiple domains of different customers. I have worked primarily a lot on Sun Identity Manager, SailPoint, Oracle, and briefly on products like BMC.NET, Java BMC.NET Identity Management, as well as BMC.NET and Java Identity Managers. Of course, the BMC.NET as well as the Java Identity Manager products were the ones which were sold to SailPoint to increase their rich connector base as of today. Microsoft also has been renamed into multiple times, and over a period of last 12 years, I have worked with multiple banks as well as multiple healthcare, retail, and different other domains of verticals where different solutions of identity management were provided. I have been able to functionally design the solutions as well as technically deploy the solutions, including the production environments. Now let us understand why, what is the reason why one needs to learn, understand uh, identity management. What is there? What is it? Why is the term coined as identity management? So, to give you a quick overview of what's happening today in the cyber world, if you all, most of you realize that cyber warfare, cyber terrorism, cyber risk are a few of the words probably you have heard during your education or during your routine read blogs, content across, or some of you might even have faced certain risks in your lifetime with respect to the cyber, the data. When we say cyber, cyber nothing means but data. So let us give you a quick overview of what has been happening in the world. There has been a huge deluge and increase of cyber attacks since 2013, and the increase has been a humongous 91%. Out of these, 40% of the customers experienced data breaches. Data breaches primarily are nothing but where you have lost your key information, key data. For an sales driven organization, losing all its customer data might be a key data for them. For a number driven organization, for an insurance firm, or for a stockbroking firm, the secretive data, the information about the shareholding patterns, the information about the money invested in different shares or stock options might be a critical data. For a company like which manufactures software, their code might be the critical data for them. So in such scenarios, there is a huge data loss that has been recorded across. Not only that, also there have been several other incidents that have been reported in the world. And if you understand, today's world has been moving into BYOD, bring your own device, bring your own identity, and bring your own whatever. In such scenarios, the risk of data, the risk of information passing from point A to point B, where you are not sure about point B, increases very largely. Any intelligent person, any smart individual would recognize data and a human being or a living entity are both intertwined. There is no point of having an information saying that Mr. X has 100 rupees in the pocket. But if I say that Ed has a few $1,000s in his pocket, then there is a value of that information. Similarly, if I would say Mr. Ed is carrying blah blah blah, it doesn't give you any particular sense of information that is being carried. However, if it is clearly said that Mr. Ed is carrying $2,000 in his pocket, it makes common sense. So, an identity and information can never ever be separated from one another. They are mutually inclusive entities in the world. So, when we have to protect information, we have to protect the identity. That is why we need to look at identity management and try to understand how do we secure an identity in an enterprise, social, and in our personal lives to better secure our world. There are different technologies. Technologies are mere enablers, but the understanding that has to come is primarily about the functionality. Let's look at why is it so important to understand the breadth, the vast of the industry, the domain, rather than just a product or a technology. So now let us understand what's technology and what's the difference between understanding of risk versus just understanding of technology too. So when you try to understand a technology, let us say you have been a super network admin, you have been working across multiple things in a NOC, in a network operations center. You have been setting up a lot of switches. So what do you know? What do you think are the capabilities of a probably a L7 switch, a layer 7 switch? What do you think are the capabilities of different servers that you have commissioned in your network operations center? You know the hundreds of features that are there to enable good things. Probably like a virtualized LAN, probably like a segmented network, probably like inter VLAN communication, probably like firewall rules, the hundred things that you know, right? So you've not just only added a lot of features to your enterprise using a layer 7 switch or a nav server or whatever, but you have also protected your organization. Now, how did you protect? You wrote your own firewall rules, you wrote your level 7 switch access policies, whatever. What is it that can happen when an incorrect person with wrong privileges accesses your very, very strong, hardened switch or your firewall or your server? Did you ever figure out that? When you understand that what can happen when somebody with a malintention or incapability or not the right amount of knowledge to handle that particular product gets in contact with that kind of a product and unfortunately does something which they don't know. For example, let's take a simple SQL statement. We all know that there are close to around 6 to 7 types of statements in SQL, and I'm sure most of you understand what's a DDL and a DML. A DDL is a data definition language and DML is a data manipulation language. Let's say you're trying to run few commands on your local instance of a database, where it is your test instance or your lab instance of a database. And rather than doing a select star or of whatever and creating a query, you were trying a level 6 query, and unfortunately you said drop table name. You were trying a particular command, you were keeping all of those in your Toad browser or whatever, and unfortunately you execute a command drop table name. Do you understand the difference between dropping a table versus altering a table, right? You understand the difference between a commit and a non-commit. You know that all data definition languages are auto commit. So, what happens when somebody with a high privilege access to a Cisco server or a Norton antivirus server or to an Oracle database server, or for that matter, just like the way you see in your movies, access to nuclear weapons or probably energy sector has? How is it going to impact our lives? How is it going to impact an enterprise? Have we understood that? While we understand that, have you ever, out of curiosity, have tried to understand how you have to bend the rules at times to ensure that the same enterprise actually continues? Your the database administrator, who is the super administrator, is actually on a sick leave, and in the meanwhile there was a fire accident in your office, and you had to quickly take certain backups of your database servers. You need to unplug them, run to some other facility where your BCPDR facilities are existing. What would you do? You need a break glass privilege to execute such kind of scenarios. So how do you understand? How do you connect to different entities in a particular enterprise? How do you connect in a personal life? Have you did a lot of purchasing in your life online? Most of the times, if you ever used, you can connect to a lot of sites using your Google credentials. You can connect to a lot of applications on Facebook using your Facebook credentials. There's the information that passes across, right? Do you understand what information passes, how it passes, and what is the kind of breach of information that exists, or what is the kind of impact that causes on your personal life, or when seen at a large picture, what happens to an enterprise? How does it happen to a bank? How does it happen to a healthcare industry? When we say healthcare, there are multiple sectors into it. How does it happen to a specific hospital or a pharma industry? How does it happen in a utility industry where there is nuclear energy? There is probably different formats of energy that we might talking about, or there might be different manufacturing processes that we might be talking about, production line being hit. So it is very, very important for us to understand risk. During the course of this training, we're going to give you a very, very strong overview on the different domains and their different risk patterns that happen, so that you just not learn one product and try and go into the world and just be a product implementer, but you also make sense of what are you implementing it for, what is your end objective that you're achieving for your large enterprise, for your customer. That is the value add that we try to provide. That is the value add that as individuals we try to gain. So over the initial first week, there will be a lot of identity management samples, etc., identity management frauds that will be covered across. In the next few slides, you will see what is the training content going to cover. So let us see what we are covering in this training. You're going to be taken through a journey of where and how the word journey of the life of identity management is started. How did it transform into identity management versus access management versus access governance versus identity governance? What has been the worldwide frauds that happen in the world of identity and financial or the fiscal worlds, and how of both of these worlds are closely connected? While that is being explained, the key principles, the key policies that have changed the world of identity management, the frameworks that have brought in will be covered through, and a lot of concepts that are required for you to understand further technical knowledge or the functional knowledge shall be covered across during the course of it. Getting into technology, we'll cover a lot of topics that are required for you to understand identity management. Identity management is like the last summit that you would conquer. The things that you need to understand primarily are lightweight territory access protocols, that's the LDAPs, or for you to understand the Microsoft Active Directory that is built on a protocol called LDAP. We give you a quick overview of how such kind of products have been built. We let you deploy one of the freeware like LDAP products in your own environment. Similarly, we also teach what is application access and how is application access designed using LDAPs. It is very, very important for each one of you to understand LDAP and the integration with every worldly applications and their authentication models using LDAPs. Next in queue would be your training on middleware. Middleware in the world of technology means all those which are not database and which are not front-end applications or end user applications. All of those components do come into middleware. Out of those components, we would teach you the theoretical concepts as well as certain practical labs on application servers. Application servers are visibly those which are the likes of Tomcat, the likes of WebLogic, WebSphere, Apache, and so on, etc. So we will teach you what are the architectures of web servers versus application servers, what are their respective capabilities, how a particular language or a platform like Java or the JRE affects your containers, what containers are capable and compatible with different kinds of Javas, how is that world works. Similarly, labs as well as theoretical classes on virtualization are taught to you. This is very, very important as in the world of production environments, in the world of every labs that we see, we there is a lot of virtualization that is done. So we will teach you virtualization, how you can configure your own VMs, how can you create your own VMs, how can you do the networking in those VMs, how can you do those cloning, how can you do the snapshotting of VMs, how can you finally put them in production, how can you do a lot of moving forward and back between snapshots, and all of these are taught during your virtualization classes. You're absolutely now ready to take over the product training on identity management. So we let you understand and build your primary product training on Oracle Identity Management with the latest version available. So we would introduce the core product as well as different architectural level concepts of Oracle Identity Management. Different lab exercises written very lucidly uh, in different formats with pictorial representations. Labs are provided where using those labs you will be able to create your own VM. When we say your own VM, you're basically building it from scratch. That is your operating system, your Java, setting the path variables in your environment, then your rest of your middleware components, and finally the identity management. Then we do the basic configurations, we do the data loading, and we'll let you know how you can build the beautiful catalog, the Oracle IDM001 R2 catalog, and how we can do different security role modelings. Once you have built the server with the necessary infrastructure, then we take you through the beauty part where we take you through the UI customization done very aesthetically, very well using ADF. You would also see how beautiful the product has been designed to quickly modify and to quickly give the customer experience, the UX experience that your customers require while keeping the necessary security protocols in place. Later, we move to the rest of the lifecycle management of the identity management by creating your approval workflows, by creating your sandboxes and different disconnected resources, as well as few other topics. Next on, we would bring you to the world of certifications. In other words, it's called audit certifications, entitlement reviews, or attestations in Oracle Identity Manager and few other areas. And then the most important part of this is the audit reporting, that is the BI reporting, business intelligence reporting, as well as data modeling of Oracle Identity Manager. The training also covers few other products which are available for reviews, which have the similar capabilities in identity management and access management and entitlement reviews. So, what do you get in a nutshell during this training? In the few weeks, you will have a very, very comprehensive training which has been built upon not just the theoretical knowledge but a lot of functional knowledge, which will help you be ready for your job on day one in identity management. The lab materials are designed in such a way that I think a customer services executive will fall short of making it far more pleasant. What do we mean by that? The lucidity of the material makes your life so easy when you go through as step one, right click on the box, and step two actually tells you to which feature on the right click menu is what you're scrolling to, and step three tells you to click on it. So that is the level of lucidity with which the material is developed so that you can do it in front of the trainer, offline, anytime during your lifetime to get through the training anytime. Not only that, we also offer a long time email support for your training content and their exercises. We also suggest a lot of tips and tricks during the technological projects that you're doing during the training. And we also teach you the product in depth with a lot of functional knowledge. So, what are you waiting for? Please write down to trainings at enhcorp.com to quickly get a brochure of detailed content on the course, as well as the course fee and the latest dates available where the training is available. Let's get started. Also, please visit our website enhcorp.com and also view our other sister companies, sister concern companies, which are SMAC Solutions Private Limited and Customer Centered Private Limited. We offer different course contents and different solutions via those companies. Please also do visit our social media on Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Do let us know your feedback at trainings@enhcorp.com. Thank you.